Hi, I'm Callie and welcome to Kapowski Reads. And last month I decided to join in on the hardest reading challenge you'll ever do. A wonderfully terrifying reading challenge created by Stephanie over at Q Wordy. I will link the video in the description for anybody who wants to join in on the chaos or just learn more about the reading challenge itself. But basically it is what it says it is. It is the hardest ever reading challenge. And last month I pretty much did nothing in order to achieve the reading goals. I'm under no illusions of getting them all completed, but I really want to, have a good try. So I thought I would maybe try and get a little bit more focused and try to pick like one prompt a month to work on in order to maybe succeed in these goals. So this week I am going to be working on the Complete the Rainbow challenge, which is basically to read a book which has a cover which matches a colour in the rainbow. So your classic Roy G. Biv plus pink, black, white and brown. I am going to use a colour generator spinny wheel. That's not the name for it, but we're going with it. In order to just take all of the choosing, the responsibility and the pressure of making choices out of my hands. So I'm going to use that to pick my reads for the week. I also am going to try to pick books that are on my NetGalley shelf, because that shelf is a little bit, I'm overwhelmed by my NetGalley shelf, so I really just don't know where to start. So if the colours allow, I will be picking books off of my NetGalley shelf and kind of succeeding in two goals at once. So I'm going to add a little spinner in one of the corners, but I'm going to be doing it on my iPad, but I'll record my screen and see what I'm going to be reading first. So the first colour that I have got, which hopefully I've added a spinner wheel and I've remembered to record, is a book with a pink cover. So I'm going to be going with A Werewolf's Guide to Seducing a Vampire by Sarah Hawley. This is the third book in the Glimmer Falls series. I have read books 1 and 2 and I very much felt that book 2 worked as a standalone. The characters from the first book didn't really impact the story at all. So I wonder if this book is going to be the same, because we're following a new character who I think was introduced in book 2 but didn't really have much to do with the storyline. So this is kind of us getting to know Ben. I will go read the book, come back and tell you what the book was about and what I thought about it. I have finished reading my first book, My Pink Prompt, and my throat is even croakier than it was before, so hopefully it's not gonna be too bad while I'm filming this. A Werewolf's Guide to Seducing a Vampire. Let me tell you what the book is about first, because I don't think I did earlier. This book focuses on Ben, who is a very adorable, very anxious garden centre owner. He is also a werewolf. So he's big and burly, but he's very timid and very much loves a nice sweater vest. In a drunken stupor, he finds himself on the magical version of eBay where he buys a little plastic gemstone that claims to contain a vampire succubus. And he's like, it's 99 cents. I'll buy it. And he buys it, and lo and behold, it does contain a vampire succubus called Eleanor, who is one of the greatest characters I have read in a long time. She was so fun. She was 700 years old at this point, not immortal, but she had been getting sort of put back into her, previously she was in crystals, this time she was in plastic gemstone. Poor woman, the indignity of it all. But it turns out that Eleanor has been in that crystal because she's been sort of tricked by a witch, and she's kind of forced to do the bidding of whoever so owns the crystal / plastic gemstone that she lives in. And Ben is just so terrified of this strong very, very sensual lady, but he's also like pretty annoyed that she's, you know, forced to do someone's bidding. So he's like, yeah, I'm gonna come with you. We're gonna find a way to break this spell, free you from your curse, and get you like freedom so that you don't have to do somebody's bidding. And they kind of go on a little bit of an adventure to get her free. Along the way, feelings happen, sparks fly, book gets smutty. I forgot it was going to be smutty. The other two were smutty as well, and I just forgot. So when that happened, I was like, oh, there we are, cackling away. I really liked this. I really liked the relationship between Ben and Eleanor. It was so just, their pairing just was so complimentary. I love, love, love Eleanor as a character. She was so fun. I would love a whole like book about her backstory, the lives she has lived. I was right when I said I thought it would work as a standalone. It definitely did. The previous characters, Mariel and Oz and Caladia and Azeroth, I think, from books 1 and 2, were in this book, but they weren't key to anything. They did provide some like conversations and they were there, but they weren't integral to the plot. So definitely this could work as a standalone. I really liked sort of the way that Ben's anxiety was handled in this book. I really liked the way that he was like an outwardly very, very strong, sturdy hulk of a man. And he was like, no, but I have anxiety and I have all of these issues, and it was really handled, it felt like quite respectfully and really well. And I like that nobody tried to like force him to go to places he wasn't going to feel comfortable and do things that he wasn't going to feel comfortable doing. They let him sort of, they trusted him to know his own limits. A good half of this book though was actually to do with Ben's sister Gigi and her mayor campaign, which sort of felt like it came a little bit from nowhere. And every so often the story, the romance would be getting like really good. There'd be all of these sort of like, no, they'll never get together, maybe they will, and then suddenly it's a let's go flyering for my mayor campaign. And that just felt a little kind of okay, sure. But I felt that way about the first 2 books as well, where there's this really fun romance and there's always a quest. There's a romance and a quest, but there's always like a weird story that doesn't really need to be in there that takes up a good portion of the tale. I don't know why. I don't know if it's maybe to reach a certain length in the story, but I feel if you cut out the sort of what felt like administrative filler, the book would be like a solid like 4.5 stars. I really like the sort of romance bits and the paranormal bits, and the world building's really fun. It's such a cool world they live in. It's just a town, but it has so many like magical people in it. So there's witches and wizards, demons, there are fairies, there are not naiads, that's not how it's pronounced, there are water nymphs, there's like so many cool sounding characters that I feel like this series could just keep going on and on and on. And I kind of hope it does, because I love, there's like griffins who have a B&B, and I'm like, sure, of course these griffins have got a charming B&B. Why would they not? And it's so cute. I had a great time with this book. It was such a good start to this kind of reading challenge week. And I can take the little pink box for Fleet the Rainbow. That's it. The next book I am going to pick, I need to spin my wheel. Again, I will pop a video up of my screen. So I am going to be reading a blue book. I am going to go with The Clique because this is on my TBR for August, and it's got a blue cover. There's also pink, but no, we're not doing pink, we're doing blue. This is by Rhiannon Barnsley, and it is a mystery thriller surrounding a sort of secret society of very powerful women in like London. Not like London, actual London. And I have been purposely putting this book off until August because I wanted to read it as a new release. So I'm hoping that I'm going to really enjoy it because I've been putting it off for this month. So I will come back when I have read it. And maybe I'll wear something blue for that one. There is a plane or a helicopter flying above my house right now, but I'm in a bit of a rush, so I'm gonna talk over it and hope that the phone will record me more than the helicopter, but we will see. Well, I have been reading The Clique by Rhiannon Barnsley, and I have decided that at 21% into this book, I'm DNFing it. I know. I don't like it. I don't like it, and I feel that the amount that I dislike it right now, which is enough that I'm happy to put the book down and never return to it. I don't even really want to look up spoilers or anything to find out what happened. Regardless of what happens in the next 79% of this book, is that going to be enough to bring this book up to like a 3-star, like to an enjoyable level? I don't know. And so I have decided to DNF it. Mainly, I was really interested and excited to read a book about this kind of society that like uplifts these women in traditionally male-dominated fields like lawyers, doctors, and I was so excited. And I mean, I didn't get that because I didn't read enough of the book to get that, but at the point where I was, the society had been mentioned once, literally just in passing, and I was a bit like, can we circle back? Go back to that? I want to know more. The entirety of the chapters that I did read were basically just reiterating how stressful a life the main character had, how awful a lot of the people she worked with were. There was also a lot of misogyny, there was sexual harassment, and that's not, I don't want to read that. It reminded me a little bit of Lessons in Chemistry, which I DNF'd probably around 20% as well, because regardless of what happens in the rest of a book, if it starts with so much misogyny, hate, just an unpleasant book, I don't want to continue with that. Like, I read fiction for fun and enjoyment, and I wasn't enjoying it, so I'm DNFing it, and let's go and find something else. And the next colour I'm going to be reading is purple. And I don't think I mentioned at the beginning that I've actually got a list of what books I have that are colours. What books I have that match the colours from the colour wheel. So I know I'm going to be reading 4 Eids and a Funeral by Farida Abiki Ayamedi. I have been wanting to read this book for ages and ages. I have read 2 books by this author so far. I have loved them, but this book is a bit different because this is a lighter read. It's not dark academia. It is a sort of second chance romance. I know there's a cat and I'm very excited about it. I love this author and I am confident that I'm going to enjoy it. At least I'm going to at least enjoy this. If this is a 5-star read, then somebody's going to be getting welcomed into my list of auto-buy authors, and let's go in with a hopeful heart. I will be back when I have read it. I am going to be super honest and just admit that I got really busy over the last few days and I didn't film, but I did read. So I think that's okay. I finished 2 books. So I have 2 reviews and one wheel spin to share with you. So I have finished 4 Eids and a Funeral. And I think that previously I said this was by Farida Abiki Ayamedi. And it is, but it is a collaboration. So there's 2 authors. We've got Farida Abiki Ayamedi, but there's also Adiba Jaigirdar, who I have not read anything yet by, but after reading this book, spoiler, I loved it. I'm going to. I gave this book 5 stars. Let's just start like how this book starts by saying it is a love story. I'm going to start my review by saying it was a love story for me too. In addition to being a love story, it was kind of like a second chance friendship. And I am a sucker for a book that has a strong friendship story arc. Saeed and Tiwa were like inseparable besties when they were younger. And then Saeed got to go to this very prestigious boarding school, and that's when their friendship just drifted. They went from being best friends to just hating each other's guts and not being able to like be civil when in the same room as each other, which made it kind of uncomfortable for everybody else. There was a huge fallout, and we don't know at the beginning what happened, but we do get to find out, and oh, it was good. They were forced to reunite when their kind of mentor, a librarian in their hometown, sadly passed away and left them joint guardians of her cat. So they had to like be civil to each other because they were like shared parents of this gorgeous, gorgeous cat who I loved. I kind of really liked how they somewhat reluctantly put aside their hatred for each other in order to look after this cat and kind of fulfill the kind of last wishes of their beloved mentor. There's also a huge storyline in this book surrounding the Islamic Center, which there was a fire, it was just almost destroyed, and they need to rebuild it. But the mayor is kind of like, we could build houses here instead. And Saeed and Tiwa are like, well, no, this is massive part of our community. We need this centre, it's so important. And they work together to try to save the Islamic Center. And I really enjoyed them still sniping at each other, but like forced to work together and be civil for the greater good of their community. I found this book to just be utterly heartwarming. I was charmed. It was like a nice, light rom-com. Even though there's moments in it that are quite sad, it was overall just heartwarming and lovely. I love the characters. I love the really slow reveal of what happened between them, how they are then going to move on after everything comes to light. But I also loved the side characters. We had family, extended family, and they all, I really like when a book doesn't kind of skimp on the side characters. Like, they felt fully rounded. They all had their own motivations and goals, and like they had, you could feel like they had a life that happened when the main characters weren't around, and I really appreciated that. But I did absolutely love Tiwa and Saeed, and I really bought their hatred. I really felt they do not like each other at all, and all of their interactions were just, they were so amusing. Just the little catty comments whenever there was an opportunity, and the sort of inner monologue of like, I could say something nice, or I could remind them of an embarrassing moment, and it was so fun. This book just gave me the warm and fuzzies. It kind of felt a little bit like a cross between Chicken Soup for the Soul and like when you watch a beloved 90s or 80s rom-com. It just kind of gave me that almost nostalgic, warm, cozy hug, even though this book has a contemporary setting. It just kind of had that, like, I don't know, comforting narrative, and I just really enjoyed it. So I suppose please join me in welcoming Farida Abike Ayamide to my list of auto-buy authors, because this is the third 5-star read I have had that she's been involved in. So, you know, take your seat at that table. Sure, my auto-buy authors can be at a table right now. Absolutely enjoyed this book. Thoroughly recommend it. So I know that this next book is my last book. So let's see what the wheel provides. I already know what the wheel provides, but I'm gonna pretend to like have some sort of jeopardy going on, some tension. My last book for this vlog was actually a chance for redemption. It was blue. We're trying it again because the first blue book just didn't do it for me. I read Prom Queen by Laura Wolfe. I was really excited to go into this because it's a mystery thriller, and I was kind of really in the mood for a good mystery thriller. In this book, there was a tragedy. 20 years ago, Prom Queen Bailey went very quickly from winning prom queen to losing her life at a train track. And now, current day, Bailey's death is the subject of a podcast. And this small town is very like, we're not super comfortable with this. And Bailey's best friend, Brooke has returned back to her small hometown after the death of her mother, and she is approached by this podcast host and kind of coerced, blackmailed into working with the podcast host to sort of find out what happened, and secrets come out, things are revealed. This was a dual timeline thriller, which I really liked it. So it alternated between current day, this book came out last year, and 2003. The book is told entirely from the POV of Brooke, the best friend, which I did like. I really liked that we stuck to one narrative but two timelines. I did, however, find the characters to be really, really immature. I'm the same age as these characters were meant to be, and the scenes in 2003, I'm like, yeah, we were 17, sure. But the current day scenes, I was like, I didn't buy a lot of the interactions. There were people that, like, of course, I have a really itchy face. Of course there are going to be people who haven't changed since high school. That happens. But I would say that maybe just in my experience, the people I went to high school with, we've all changed. We've all grown. We've all matured. And yeah, some people didn't get on in school, but I can't see them being openly hostile to each other. I could see them just leaving the room, just not interacting with them at all, rather than like all of these like catty comments and threats and stuff. I just thought, oh my, just get over it. Like, get over it. Because what happened in the book, what happened between these characters, not that deep. You don't need to carry that grudge for 20 years. Like, please, please, therapy might help, or just calm. So I felt that kind of got to me a little bit, where I was like, everybody acts exactly the same as they did when they were 17. Nobody seems to have grown at all. The podcast element I thought was really fun. I could not stand the podcast host. Her name was Hannah, and I think that that was maybe the thing that ruined her for me, because every single Hannah I've ever met, which to be fair isn't a huge amount of Hannahs, it's maybe 5, they've all been lovely. I've never met a horrible Hannah. They may exist, but I've never met one. And so for me, I'm reading this being like, oh, Hannah, you are sullying the good name of Hannahs. She was awful. She was so pushy and aggressive, and like had absolutely no compassion for the fact that, yes, she's making a podcast, and yes, it's really important that truths are found out, but she is threatening and blackmailing people who are like, this was a traumatizing event, we don't want to relive it. And she sort of kept saying she was doing it for Bailey's family, but like, we never got to know if that was the truth. Bailey's family weren't in the book. Did they want this to happen? Or were they like, no, it's been, the case is over, we're, you know, please let her rest in peace. I don't know. I listen to a lot of true crime podcasts because I am a millennial woman. That's what we do. But I feel like the level of respect given in this book to Bailey and to the people in her life was so just little. Hannah, you're going to get a court case. People are going to sue you for slander. You can't be doing that. But I know that sounds super negative. I did love the slow reveal. So every kind of so often we would go back in time and have a 2003 chapter, and that would like sprinkle some little breadcrumbs of like, this is why this is happening. Here's a little bit more. Just like slowly opening the door to the grand reveal. And speaking of grand reveals, I didn't guess what was going to happen. I had my theories. I almost try not to guess what's going on. Sorry, I keep touching my hair because this little bit of hair is going like poking my, there we go. I go into mystery thrillers being like, can I guess it? Can I guess what's happening? And I hope not to, like I can't stop myself, but I try not to guess. And I didn't guess. I was wrong. I had so many theories. Every single one was wrong. The reveal I thought was spectacular. I thought that was a like triumph. I really enjoyed the reveal, and yeah, great time with that. The epilogue felt like it was from a totally different book, which was really weird because it had some elements that had not featured before in the book that would have probably changed the genre a smidge, and I felt it was weird. Not necessarily good weird. I appreciate that my review probably seems a little bit negative, but I enjoyed this book. I had a good time with it. For me, the mark of a good thriller is that I am thrilled. And I was thrilled. I was kept guessing. I didn't know what was going to happen. I bought the reveal. When I found out what happened, I was like, never saw that coming, but I can see how it would have. It all made sense. So I managed to get through, let's say 4 books. It was 3 in a DNF, but I'll take it. I've managed to enjoy 3 good books, reduce my unread shelf on NetGalley by a little bit, and I had a good time. Let me know if you've read any of these books or if you fancy reading any of them. And as always, I'd like to know what you've been reading lately, and thank you so much for watching.